TitleMatchNetwork.com.
What about Sherri Martel? What are your memories of working with her and Medusa the Feud?
Ooh. Oh, that old Sherri. Gosh dog almighty, she was a handful. Things that we did, we did the marriage, me and Sherri, we did that whole routine of the marriage. What a class act. That wound up being, we got there to that wedding, and old Sherri fashion, and bless her heart, she's gone now. I love her like a sister, but she showed up just drunker than hell. You know, I mean, just really slurred and banging. Hey, Carol. So the guys there, all the production guys, and everybody standing around, they're going, we can't shoot this. We're going to have to get another date. We can't shoot this. And we're all set up there at the same place that Elvis got married and Michael Jordan, Little White Chapel there, and we're going to have our wedding out in the parking lot. And Sherri's just bombed. She's just out of her mind. So they're going to call it off. They're going to say, we got to get another date. We got to do the deal. And I say, listen, boys, listen here. I said, let the little lady sit over there and let me do the talking. And just let her go. I said, she sounds beautiful. To go, that's all she says. That's all. Just give her that deal, Said,
right.
Doesn't matter that she's drunk. Said, it might be better.
Yeah.
Because you're getting to Sherri. She's come in half friggin' lit for her wedding.
That's great.
Give it a thought, guys. And they went, maybe we can shoot. I said, heck yeah, you can shoot, man. Right. We're going to do this. So we did that deal. And thank goodness the problems with production and this and that, instead of it taking a couple hours for us to shoot the piece, it took us like 6 hours. So by the time we got down to Medusa and her having a fight, she'd sobered up enough to be able to have a heck of a fight. And Sherri was a handful about that bless her heart, she just had a little problems with that. But as a performer, getting the job done, and a tough girl, whoa, weren't no tougher in the business.
You also got to work Harlem Heat?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, work with those. Well, Sid brought them in. When I came in with Sid as Colonel Parker, and they came in with Sid as Sid's boys, Sid's guys.
Right.
They were going to be Sid's guys. And Sid ruled their life. I mean, he told them about their match. Sid was like the booker of me and of them. And that he was very critical and everything of them. And they listened, and they, great guys. Great guys. Still love them today, man.
Do you have any good road stories from early on that you want to share?
Oh, gosh, man. Tons of road stories. I'll tell you a lot of stories about my grandpa, when I was just a little fella. And Roy would take us to Memphis or to Nashville to the wrestling matches and whatever. That he was a funny type of guy. He'd ask you, are you hungry? And, just a little boy, and you'd say, yeah, Grandpa, I'm really hungry. And he'd say, boy, dadgum, man, I had a big steak and baked potatoes and all the thing. And then he'd say, son of a gun, we don't have any time to stop and get you anything to eat. So then he'd go on and on about, boy, my steak was juicy and the whole thing. And then he'd say, you'd nod off, and he'd say, you're getting a little sleepy over there, aren't you? Yeah, getting a little sleepy. So he'd light up his cigar, and puff it good, and he'd watch you, and you start to doze off a little bit in the car, and he'd pop that cigar and put it up under your nose, get you breathe the ashes in, turn the radio up loud, and then his biggest trick was, boom, boy, bang you with that hand in the chest. But I mean, it was just a horror story. Riding down the road with my grandpa was a horror story. And he always had a bunch of horror stories to tell. That he'd seldom come home without a story or take us on a trip. And he'd say something. He didn't go in bars and stuff. He didn't drink. But he'd tell you about how he had to stop and use the bathroom or something on the road. And he went in this bar, and here's this, he's starting out, and here's this roughneck standing at the door and says, well, this, you're not going out. And my grandpa had a loud way of acting and talking and wrestling in the ring. And he'd tell us, telling a small boy, me, the story. He'd say, boy, that guy blocked my way. And I said, get out of my way, USB. And he said, Bang! I hit that son of a boy hot dog, and boy, down he went, and I kicked him in the gut, and I kicked him in the head 4 times, and boy, that son of a gun was bleeding into a puddle of blood in the dadgum floor, and I stepped over that SB, boy, and I said, I'm going back in that dadgum bar, and nobody's ever going to say a dadgum ding, boy, son of a gun word to me, you know. As a kid, you're going, whoo, boy, I don't want no part of my grandpa. And, you know, and the strange part of that, it wasn't just me. The little boy sitting over there says, I don't want no part of him. There wasn't a guy sitting in that dressing room that wanted any part of him. That he was the man that figured, you're going to kind of fear me. Yeah, even to the point that later on I start wrestling and grow up, you know, and I get in the wrestling business, and I realize how much respect that son of a gun really has, because he's gimp on one leg and he walks on a cane, but even an old guy walking on a cane and gimping along there, and when he walked in the dressing room, and I'd never noticed this because, you know, as a young guy, I just started wrestling, that when he walked over here, everybody'd get up and move over there. And I said, what? Then he'd, you know, well, he'd kind of walk over here, and they'd all get up and they'd move over there. They'd always just give him his space. And a couple of times that I saw guys that didn't, I learned why. He'd take that cane, bam, boy, knock you that gum head. And what, you know, new guy coming in, he don't know the story, so he just keeps tying his boots and he don't pay any attention to the get up and move. Well, you learn pretty fast that old Roy Welch demands that you get up and move.
Wow.
So that's the way he was.
What about your training? What are some of your memories of your early training in the ring?
Well, as a young boy, Dad always ran his own business. Always ran his own wrestling business. So we always had a ranch or farm or any place that we went, big barn. He always had his wrestling ring in the barn. All the wrestlers come over and do their training there at Dad's place, and so as a young guy, then Dad get us in the ring, and he thought it was necessary that we learn to hook. And hooking is as simple as just, if something's supposed to go this way and you turn it that way, then that's called hook. And it can be from a wrist lock to an ankle lock, or just anything that you do that turns the body in a way it's not supposed to go. And my father, even though, you know, wrestling, we're trying to work together in the ring, but when you came to my father's barn to work out, and even the wrestlers themselves, they worked on hooking. And Dad figured that he couldn't give anybody a push in the wrestling business unless they had the credentials to be in that position. That he never thought that a guy could just come in. I'll give you an example. A Hulk Hogan that looks great. I mean, the most impressive looking person definitely in this business, and speaks so well, and so there's a lot of money there to be made with him. But still, in the same category, then, he had not been to that barn situation, and he had not done that hooking. He had not known all of those advantages. So you get this guy that comes in, is 300 pounds, and he's 6'9", 300 pounds. He looks enormously effective to hurt you in the ring. But then Dad could just pull up his little referee over here that weighs 165 pounds, that's been in that barn doing that hooking, you know, and learned how to hurt you. And he'd take a guy like that and really seriously hurt him. So Dad figured, and my grandfather was on the same ticket, that if you didn't have the credentials to be a champion, meaning that if you had his championship belt and you're out on the street and somebody called you out in one way or another, and there's any possibility that you can't handle that situation, then you're not going to have that belt. It's just not going to happen. You know, my grandpa was the same way. Dad was the same way. You had to be, you had to be the right guy for the job, and that means you had to have the background. You not only had to have that amateur wrestling ability, you had to know how to do those hooks, and then you could have success in this business. And you also had to have seniority. Young guys starting out, I don't care how tough you are. Young guys starting out, didn't get much of a break with my father or my grandfather. That, you know, he liked some seniority, he liked some maturity, and I thought that, you know, the money's not going to come. You're not going to do well with this guy unless you have that.
Watch thousands of exclusive shoot interviews right now on TitleMatchNetwork.com.